Hello, all you heroes, villains, and innocent bystanders. Welcome to another episode of A Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. We will be spoiling the books of the week, so if you haven't read your books, take a break from the video, read your books, and come back and see us again. We will eventually have the times and destinations of each of the books down below in the description. Hopefully at some point when I get off my lazy rear end and actually do it. And then we will be giving our unsolicited opinion. With me, I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me is...
Raylan the Hyena.
The Hyena. I really do like that one. That was a good pick. Good choice. And we will be spoiling the book, so here we go. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? You want to go first? What do you want to do? Which one do you want to do?
I want to start with the one I read first, Fantastic Four.
You read Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Okay, well I actually have a paper copy of that. So it's Fantastic Four number 5. So I'm going to let you...
It was really good, too.
Did you like it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever read Fantastic Four before?
Yes.
You did?
No, I haven't.
So this is your first time reading Fantastic Four at all? Did you know the characters?
Yes, I do know the characters from the movie and
from the movies?
some stuff.
Okay. And you're Googling reading?
Yeah.
So would you rather? You want to use a paper copy or you want to look through here?
Here.
Okay. So, let's see who are our writers and who is our artists. We have various writers and various artists because this book they did several different small stories. They all kind of coalesced into one big giant story at the end. And so they did, because who's getting married?
Ben the Thing.
Mm-hmm. And?
There.
Alicia Masters?
Alicia Masters.
Okay. Go ahead.
It starts when the moving day into the new building, and you have Sue Storm, and she's finding Reed because he hasn't really been
around
lately. So, she goes in, finds him working on this big thing she also ends up finding her daughter. And so they start talking and stuff. And then Ben calls about the wedding or whatever. And so he's too busy to pick up the phone, so Sue answers it. And they talk, and then they go to the dance place, and they start working on dancing and having fun. And then it goes back in time.
Like
a flashback to when before they had their powers.
Yeah.
And so it's them working at the lab. And then it's them doing stuff, and then at one point
so Reed's busy again. Reed's too busy,
so it's before they were married.
Yeah.
And so Ben says he'll take her out.
Take out Sue.
So her and Ben go out, and they go out for dinner and then start dancing. Well, then the next day, they start talking about the rocket launch and going to space, and and Ben tries to warn them that they shouldn't go.
The shields are not good enough.
Enough, and and then Sue calls him a coward, and so then he's like, "Fine, I'll go."
So this is all basically like a big giant flashback about how they became the Fantastic Four and how the Thing becomes like kind of attached to how he got in the relationship with Alicia. So it's all kind of a flashback of stuff, which this was kind of newer to you, wasn't it? Yeah, see, this is all like, if you've read Fantastic Four before, this is obviously new. They're not new stuff. They just kind of do it from a different viewpoint. But I really liked that Ben and Sue were kind of dancing together. I thought that was a kind of a fun thing. So, once they get through all that flashback, they get to...
After all the flashback and stuff, because it shows them they get their powers.
Yep.
Sue feels bad because they are all like able to stay maintained and stuff. So then it talks about how Ben met how this evil guy made like special wax puppets and would disguise his stepdaughter as Sue Storm, and she would like work for him. Well, then she turns good and stuff, and she falls in love with Ben because he saves her, but since she's blind, she can't see what he looks like. She just sees him as a nice guy.
So then it talks about like how Sue kind of from the shadows
trying to like set them up and do stuff to help. And so they are all...
Which is really sweet. They had some really cute moments,
And then they did sculpting of each other. What's her name again?
Alicia Masters.
Alicia, she... Sorry.
That's okay.
Alicia, she ends up making a really good sculpture of him.
Because she's an artist.
Because she's an artist, while Ben's is quite...
hideous.
Interesting. And then there's
just an overview. We don't have to go through everything, okay?
Yeah.
So they get to the end.
They get to the end, and so they're back to the present, and they just finished dancing, and so they go home, and Reed starts, and
he's still working on a bunch of stuff that nobody knows really what he's working on, why he's doing it.
And so Johnny comes in and tells him how it's time to plan and get ready for Ben's
bachelor party.
And then so he's like, I'm busy, so he's like, you take care of it. So he does. And then he also ends up bringing up how Johnny almost got married to Alicia.
Yeah, that was kind of awkward. Awkward!
But it was actually a Skrull.
Yes, it was actually a Skrull that was pretending to be Alicia. Yes.
Yeah, and so and
they got married.
Yeah, and so they take care of all that. And then it comes time for the bachelor party. And so they're all getting ready. And you see, like, all the different heroes show up, like Star-Lord and Rocket are in the bus and stuff.
Yep. And
then these three guys, and then Peter Parker keeps trying to come to the party, but like Ben says, no shenanigans, and we're superheroes. And then we're Thundra?
Yeah.
What's her name? Thundra?
Yeah.
Thundra. She's like, I don't want to go to the girls' party. I want to go to the guys' party.
She wants action. She thinks things are going to happen. And they go to the wrestling.
Yeah, and so she goes there. And then you also see Crystal and Medusa.
Yep.
And so they go to the wrestling match. And they invite. And then Ben gets to fight in the ring. And he's super happy.
He pulls a groin.
And so Doctor Strange helps him. And then they go to the bar. And you see everyone getting drinks. And there's Luke Cage and all that. And then Thor's got the big barrel. And he's pouring it.
Got a little faster so that we can get done.
Alright.
So then the Serpent Society pops in.
Oh, yeah. And then the Serpent...
Shenanigans ensues.
Serpent Society strikes.
Yeah.
And you start beating, fighting, and then you see the girls.
That was funny. Yeah.
You see the girls at their party.
At their bachelorette party, yeah.
Bachelorette party, which is really funny because you got Medusa with the money in her hair, and then and then you got She-Hulk screaming, yeah. And so and then you see him playing poker back at the guys after they defeat the serpents.
Which later on you find out is strip poker.
Yeah, they end up finding out it's strip poker, and Thundra ends up having literally all their clothes.
All the clothes. And she has the best line from Ben. Ben's like, and this ain't no lady, she's a shark. what are the rules, Wyata? And then Thunder goes, hate us not the player, Benjamin Grimm. Hate the game.
And she's literally wearing everybody's clothes.
It's pretty funny.
As they all smoke their cigars.
Yep.
And then he sees Johnny and all that.
They have a little moment.
And then her and Ben start fighting. And so, that happens. And then she leaves and Ben and Johnny start talking. And, talk about what was their favorite part.
Yeah.
And then it's...
Cuts to another story where they actually get to where they're going.
Arizona.
Yep.
And they're all there.
Now, she is the lady that they come to see, Aunt Petunia. She's always, like, he always talks about her. Like, that's my sweet Aunt Petunia. And he always says it all the time, like, in all the old books. And so, when they actually show Aunt Petunia...
So, is she related to Ben or Alicia?
She's related to Ben.
Okay.
So, yes, that's his sweet Aunt Petunia.
Yeah. And so, she sees sweet Aunt Petunia, and they all see them and meet them, and she's like, where's Ben? And because Sue had turned him invisible, so not a lot of people could see. And then her son asked to be on invisible because she's like, no, because he messed up his hair.
Yeah.
And
he died and cut his own hair. That's what it was.
And then they meet Alicia.
Yeah.
And then
they
another
start the wedding.
flashback. And then they're all driving, and stuff. And then the wedding starts, and she had asked the uncle to walk her down the aisle.
Yep.
And so they're getting there, and all of a sudden,
Doom.
Dr. Doom starts talking.
And gives them threats and all this stuff.
And then you see Galactus. And so Ben gets mad and yells out shenanigans.
No shenanigans, yeah. He's like, he didn't want it all to happen, so they're getting ready to go out and fight.
Yeah, so Reed presses the button and it stops people for 4 minutes so they can
Get married, yeah.
Get married and
so he makes a pocket time.
Wedding.
Yeah, he makes a pocket of time so that everybody else is frozen and they continue on so that they can get married because he's like, no, we're not stopping this. We're getting married. This is all there is to it. So they go through that little 4 minutes.
Yeah, they go through the 4 minutes. They get married. And have their moment.
Uh-huh.
And then, they all get ready to go fight.
Yep.
And, Ben tells
Alicia tells Ben.
Alicia tells Ben to go fight. And then Sue tells the kids to watch Alicia and keep everyone safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
then
so
they fly off on to go get fight. Yeah.
And that is...
So what'd you think of this book? What'd you think of all the different stories?
It was really good. I liked it.
Yeah? What was your favorite one?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. There's 3 of them. You can pick any 3.
Out of my books?
Out of all the stories in there. I like The Bachelor. I like The Bachelor Party. I thought Thundar was pretty funny.
Yeah, The Bachelor was definitely the best.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I like The Bachelor and Bachelorette Party.
Yeah,
the strip poker was probably the best.
That was hysterical. I thought it was funny. I just hated the game. she's got like all their stuff on. So that was a pretty good one. I really like that. What did you think of the art? There were several different artists. Did you like all the art? Did you think it fit pretty well?
It was pretty good.
Yeah. So what would you rate it?
Probably a 4.
4 out of 5? That's really good. Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna need it back because I'm gonna do mine next, and I'm gonna do.
All of yours?
Huh? Nope, these are both of ours. So I'm gonna do. It's an Image comic called Die Die Die. That is literally the name. Die! Exclamation point! Die! Exclamation point! Die! Exclamation point! Which I think is a pretty interesting title. It is not an age-appropriate one, unfortunately, but it is pretty interesting. It's about like kind of assassins and like political intrigue. The writer is Robert Kirkman with Chris Burnham as co-plots, and then Chris Burnham is also the artist. which we'll get to the art in a minute. But in this issue, each issue they start off with a little thing that they do, and they kind of pick one character and talk about that character, and they go, "This is the reason that he's gonna die, die, die," and they do it in big letters. See, die! Exclamation point with skull. Die! Exclamation point with skull. Die! Exclamation point with skull. So it's kind of like this one they pick the senator that they're kind of is somewhat of the villain of the series, and then they cut to some of the senators talking. And in the last book, there was a wife and husband duo, or they were in a relationship. It's a guy and a girl, and they got attacked by another assassin and got hurt really bad last issue. In this issue, they're trying to kind of find a place to rest. Well, they come into contact with a cop, they fight them off, and then another guy shows up, and he's the guy from one of the first books that killed or captured one of the other assassins. So, and then later on they talk about he probably killed, I think he kills them. They don't show the bodies or anything like that, but they talk about on the phone like they were found dead in a van, so I think the guy got him. Then it cuts to this, one of the what is it? What is triplets? It's not triplets, it's what's four of them? It's quadruplets?
Quad.
Yeah. Thank you.
Quadruplets.
Quadruplets. Quadruplets. But on this one, I asked her. So the quadruplets,
But I'm the guest on
I know, I'm glad that you knew it. I didn't know if you knew it. I'm really impressed. I didn't know you knew quads.
Yeah, there was a kid show about these 4 quads.
That makes me feel really stupid now that I didn't even know what the kids show had on it.
Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn.
And they were quads?
Yes.
Oh. Maybe I should watch more kids shows, apparently.
Obviously.
So anyways, one of the people that got captured in the first book was one of the quads. He killed that quad and took his place as a part of the assassin. So everyone thinks he's somebody different. But his girlfriend, the one that died's girlfriend, she figured out that he was not the other guy, and she tries to kill him. He kidnaps her, and he's trying to brainwash her into liking him. So he's telling her, and he goes through all their history about all the quads and how they became assassins and they kill people. And then it cuts to the other quad, who is he is kind of become a recluse, but he's found out that his brother's dead and that he needs to come back and help. So, or they try to kill him off in the last book. So he's come back to society to kind of figure out what's going on, and he finds out that that his brother killed the other brother and has taken his place. So they're trying to figure out how to deal with him. And there's this old senator guy that's kind of the bad guy that's kind of starting to figure out what's going on, and so he's trying to stop all of them, and he's going to kill the other senator, the female senator that is kind of his rival. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of good stuff, and I think that the quad that is taking the place, his name is George, but he's taken Paul's place. So I think George is going to he's going to try to assassinate the president in the next issue. But it's really gross and lots of death and dismemberment, but the story is really funny and kind of intriguing. It reminds me a lot of, there was an old book called The Boys, and it was a lot of like gross potty humor and like big people getting their head shot off and gross sex stuff and ugh. And so this is kind of reminiscent of that book, but with assassins and kind of a political intrigue. I think it's funny and I enjoy it, but obviously it's not a book for everybody. It's not a book for you. It probably wouldn't be a book for some other people that are a little bit more prudish in their ways. And so it really just depends on, what your feelings are. But I really like it. And the art, the artist, he's done a couple different ones. He's done Batman and Robin he did for a little while. I really like his art. It's really fun and it's quirky and interesting. It's kind of got this weird, almost sickly feel to it. Like the way he draws people, he doesn't draw them like in a straight line. It's very like a wobbly line. So it fits the book, I think, very well because I think he does really well with some of the action scenes and stuff. So I would probably give it a 5 out of 5. I can definitely see where this would not be everybody's book. So if you don't like it, I can definitely see why you don't like it. There's a lot of stuff in here that's probably not appropriate for some people's sensibilities. So that's always a fun one. All right, what's your next one? You gonna do Harley or you want to do? You want to do Scooby-Doo? All right. So I'll let you do. All right. Yeah. You have to unlock it. So go ahead and do you remember what it was about?
Okay.
I'm gonna start at the beginning.
So.
Gotta go all the way to the front. So while you're doing that, so the first story, there's 2 different stories in this one book. The first story is by Ivan Cohen and Walter Carson is the artist, and the second one is by Brett Lewis and Anthony Williams. So, remember just do an overview.
Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The first story, it starts out where these guys are doing a hot dog contest, which you think Shaggy's gonna do it too, but he says eating should be for fun, not for prizes.
No, not for prizes.
Ever.
Yeah.
And so this one has a vampire in it called the Boardwalk Vampire. And so the vampire shows up, starts scaring everyone, and then this girl comes out and she tells them who she is and how she's from the boardwalk, and they start asking they ask why the vampire is driving everyone away, and she says for years, but now stuff is closing, like their stuff is closing.
Everything's closing down except for this one Ferris wheel.
Yeah. And so then a friend of hers or whatever shows up, and they start talking about the freaks.
Yeah. Because she used to be one, like she became one. She was the Amazing
Amy.
Yeah, she was a snake tamer and a sword swallower and all this stuff because she tried to get, she worked on all these tricks. And
so they see her different stuff, and then she offers them to stay there, but they're like, and first Shaggy's like, okay, and he says,
talking about his detective skills.
Yes, his detective and psychic skills, and he asks Daphne to guess like what he's thinking or whatever, and she's like, I guess you're thinking that you don't know you're lying on a bed of nails. And so he's like, nope, let's just not stay here. And so the next morning, they see all the freaks, and they're all in their costumes.
They have a big festival, fish festival.
Mm-hmm. And then they see the vampire, so they close, and then they're all trying to figure this out, and it's and then they put something about indefinitely on this.
Closed down permanently. But Velma still wants to continue. Yeah.
And so she's looking, and they find this weird liquid stuff. And
I think it's supposed to be dirt.
It's
like a mud.
wax.
Wax. Mud.
Wax.
They find the wax later.
It's wax.
It's mud.
It's wax.
No, it's mud. It's completely mud. They find wax later.
So then they find more of that stuff, and they figure out it's wax. And so they ask if there's a wax building around, but then Scooby and Shaggy went off on their own, and they thought maybe it could be food. There could be food in there. So then they see how it's locked, and then they hear the vampire, so they run, and then she's talking about how it used to be for play scenes from old movies like gangster films, westerns.
Yeah, they used to have scenes in the wax houses.
Yeah, and then they all yell out vampires. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they see the statue, and it was a wax statue with a construction worker behind it. And then he sees the cops, and they get arrested. And the reason he did that was because if it was delayed, he would owe a lot of money.
The Ferris wheel wouldn't be open in time.
Yeah.
And so if they had any more delays, he wouldn't get paid. So.
Yeah.
But he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for your rotten kids.
But if it was closed in completely, he wouldn't pay anything.
Right.
And so
then it cuts to the second story.
Which this one is my favorite out of the two stories. And so they chose him at this science and technology place, and they're talking about the supernatural problem called, and the ghost is called the Salem Witch Hunter. And so they're talking about how it keeps chasing people away and scaring people off. And so they're all freaking out. And then, of course, Shaggy and Scooby see their food.
More food stuff with Shaggy and Scooby.
So they try to eat it, but it's a hologram. And so the student is like,
why, God, why?
The student's like, it's a hologram from light. Because apparently humans, we don't see an object. We see the light reflecting off an object.
Right.
And so then all of a sudden, they see the Salem Witch. But they are chasing him, but then he somehow mysteriously disappears.
Wonder what he is.
And so they start, Daphne and Scooby start reading about it and see this janitor who used to be a scientist, but stuff happened. And then they look at security cameras to see like how it does it, and yet they still just see him disappear into thin air. And so the guy keeps saying that it will never be done. You guys should just stop your investigation. And so they set up a trap where Shaggy and Scooby pretend to be scientists, and then they trick the Salem Witch Hunter. They run away, but before they can catch him, they end up catching the professor guy. And so the next day, Velma looks at the security cameras again, but in a different way, which
they do more infrared kind of thing.
Yeah, the guy freaks out like, why is the police here? And then he wants the officer to stop and not listen to him. But he does, and so Velma ends up looking at the camera again, and she used it in a different way. And it was basically like the thing. The first time they chased the guy was a hologram. And then one time it was the professor, and one time it was the student. And so, the guy becomes a scientist.
The janitor.
Because he's granted for all this stuff that he actually invented. And he's like, but the guy invented so much. How? And Daphne's like, the only thing he invented was how to rip people off.
Yeah, and he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you rotten kids.
So, that is how that one ends.
Yeah, that was a fun one. What'd you think? What did you like?
My favorite was the second.
The scientist
version.
one?
Yes.
Now, what about the art? What did you think about the art?
The art was really good. It looked like the original TV.
I think so too. The first one especially. The first one was really close.
Really close to it. That's what I liked best about it.
Yeah, it was definitely two different classic Scooby-Doo stories. I think it's really one for younger kids, good for, some of the, or if you want to look for nostalgia of the Scooby-Doo era, it's definitely a Scooby-Doo story. So, yeah. So what would you rate it?
Definitely a 4.
I give it a 3 out of 5, just because it's a little bit kiddier for me, but I do think the art's really good, and it is definitely a classic Scooby story, so, yeah, I think it's kind of fun.
Gonna go again?
Yep. Yeah. I'm going to go one more, or I go, and then you go one more, and then we'll do one more with me, and then I'll be done. Alright, I'm going to do Sparrowhawk. It's written by Delilah Dawson, and illustrated by Matthias Basala. If I'm butchering your name, I apologize profusely. I'm so sorry. And there's always other people in here involved, and they're all equally important, but I just don't have the time to say all their names. So this one is a little confusing. It's number 3. I just happened to download it. It's by Boom. It's number 3 of 5, so I kind of came in the middle of it, and I feel like I definitely came in the middle of it. I didn't quite understand what was going on. I read the whole thing, and I kind of got the gist of it, but not quite sure what's going on. There's this human character that's starting to become part fairy as she fights these other creatures. And with her, she has like this little jackalope rabbit antler wing thing. And then she also has like this vampire kind of guy. and at the beginning of the story, she's fighting this big giant beast. Well, he ends up smelling like a more powerful creature coming after them, so he runs away, and they all follow him to capture him and destroy him, so that this girl can become stronger. Well, the little jackalope creature is saying, we need to hide because these other creatures are coming, and if they find us, they're too powerful to destroy us. Well, the powerful creatures show up, and the only way that the way they stop them is apparently these particular fairies or demons or creatures, if they smell salt, then they have to, or rice, they have to count all the grains of salt or rice. And so she throws down these, sugar. That's what it's sugar and salt. So she throws down these sugar cubes, and they break. And so they're counting all these little tiny things of sugar, like all these little spicules, but they're being really fast, and they're trying to hurry. And while they're doing that, the girl human comes down and slices off their heads to stop them, or to kill them. And she kind of saves everybody. Well, the bigger creature they were hunting earlier is kind of like, he feels grateful, so he starts following her. And then she goes off, and then they come back, and it got really weird. I wasn't quite understanding what happened. But the vampire guy is mad at the little jackalope creature and says that he's leaving because she's not doing the right path. And the jackalope creature wants her to go do some other stuff so that she can become more powerful to fight this queen. And so she fights these doll-like creatures, and the vampire comes back and he goes, "Why did you do that? They weren't harmful. You just basically killed people that weren't even trying to hurt you." And she's like, "I did it to become more powerful." And he's like, "That's not the way you do it." So he walks off and leaves, and then that's where it's left. So that's number 3. It's a really confusing book. Like, they use a lot of words that I'm not quite sure it's relevant to the world, but I don't think it's relevant in real life. Like, you don't know what it means. It's like a made-up word-ish thing, or a made-up premise, and so sometimes that was really hard to follow. I think if I went back, I may be able to understand it more, but honestly, after reading just this one, I'm not really intrigued enough to go back. And the art was okay. It was very simple, sketchy, very whimsical, but it wasn't very defined. A lot of it is very, like, they don't show all the faces very well, or things are very shadowy, or, certain things were not, I think not fully conceptualized throughout the art. But, it was good. It just wasn't my particular cup of tea. So I gave this one about a 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. Maybe if I read all the other ones, I might feel a little bit differently, but honestly, this one doesn't really make me want to go back and read. So it was just okay. We'll see. But if you like, it's very fantasy, monsters and demons kind of thing. So if that's your bag, you may find it a little bit more intriguing. But Sparrowhawk by Boom, pick it up and let me know what you think. All right, you got one more, and then I got one more, and then we'll be done. So you're gonna do Harley Quinn?
Harley Quinn.
All right.
It was my favorite.
Is your favorite out of the 3?
I don't know. But that's because I like Harley so much.
You do like Harley. I thought this one was kind of fun too. So Harley Quinn was Mark Russell and Marika Andolfo.
Yep. And it starts off, and Harley goes to eat this hot dog because she has these bad allergies. And
she says
she
she's
thinks
joking
it's
around.
good,
Right.
But no, it's terrible.
It's a Pepto-Bismol dog. That's what it was. Yeah.
And so she goes back, and her allergies are because the person she's living with or whatever.
It's in the same apartment. He has 8 million trillion cats.
He has like so many cats.
That's
and
gonna
it's
be
messing.
me in a few years.
Yeah, and apparently they're trained.
Trained assassin, thief, cats. Yeah.
Yeah, because one time you went to a match and he had a huge cat suit.
I know, he had like all those jackets. Yeah, it looked like a jacket of cats.
And he's like, "Cat, go," and then he's like, "Cats, reassemble."
Yeah, so they all like leave, steal everybody's stuff, and then they come back and he's like got all their junk.
Yeah, and then.
So her solution is to help him get rid of them.
Yeah, except one. She promised he could keep one. And so she goes to Egg Foo's apartment, and he's taking a bath. And then he freaks out, and she apologized, and then she's like,
She pulls the cat out of him.
and she's like, do you want a cat? Because what is because they don't eat eggs, and so he takes the cat, and then tries to sell him one.
The hot dog guy. She tries to sell the hot dog guy one.
And she's
or not even sell him. She's just trying to give him away.
And she's like, your place gotta be crawling with rats. It's not crawling with rats. Not plural anyway. And so it took her wallet. The cat took her wallet.
Lifted her wallet.
Poor wallet. And so, of course, she's sneezing and not feeling good. Realizes her wallet's gone. And then these bad guys come and start beating up the hot dog guy because they're part of this, like,
men's animal
thing. Like, only men's can sell animals.
Yeah, only men can sell animals, so they go after Harley.
And she's like, well, it's fine, I can take them. And he's like, well, they got allies. Like, there's menopause.
And they each have, like, different,
male chauvinist pigs. Mike's rent an animal.
MRA.
Llamas by the hour. And so she's like,
so all these guys finally come after her.
I know, because she's still like, I don't care. Then she gives this old lady the black cat that's kind of meow and frightening. And so they come after her looking, and they're about to, and they mention something about a ferret place. And so they try to beat her up, but she starts calling them by their names.
And because she knows them all,
Yeah, and by their backstory, and they freak out and run away. And then this huge angry mob comes after her.
And the hot dog guy.
And the hot dog guy. But he takes shelter, and so it's just her. And then she's running, and she goes to Egg Foo's house. And all of a sudden, this lady, she's like, I don't care if men are in charge. I don't really care about feminism. And so they start coming and trying to attack her. And so she takes the sword and starts cutting them and killing them. And
then the cats start helping.
Yeah, and then the cats grab guns, start killing them, and controlling
throwing themselves on drones, falling out of the air.
Attacking them.
Yeah.
And then Catwoman comes, grabs one by the neck and flings them, and because she's like, so what's this about women with cats? None of your business, and then wrong answer.
Yeah.
And so she starts attacking him, and then Harley comes out all bloody with the sword. And
then she tries to give Catwoman a cat after Catwoman saves all of them.
Yeah, because she's like, she's like, yeah, and she's like, is there anything I can do or something? And she's like, yeah.
You can take one of the cats.
Yeah.
But the cat's already got her wallet.
Yeah. And it has her wallet.
Yeah. It has Catwoman's wallet.
Wallet, and so. Yeah, the art was really good to me. I really liked it, and then it was probably my favorite.
It was a pretty funny story. The story was really cute. I think maybe it got a little ham-fisted with the mill thing. Like, I think they could have made it a little bit different, but I think it was pretty funny.
I have to give it a 5.
I would give it probably closer to a 4. But if you're a Harley fan, I can see why you definitely give it more.
I'm a Harley fan.
You are a Harley fan. Why. I don't disagree. I understand. All right, so I'm going to do one more, and then we will be done.
And I also... Look at my shirt I wore today.
What does it say? Please be patient. X-Men trainee?
Yep.
You should have showed that at the beginning. That's hysterical. That's a good one. I like that.
It is.
So, the last one I'm going
to
do
is... reveal it at the last minute. Because you're revealing X-Force.
That's right. I'm going to review X-Force number 1. Ed Brinson did both the stories in there. The first one was Dylan Burnett did the art, and Jamon Ramirez did the art in the second story. So the first story is kind of setting up the premise of what I think is going to be the longevity of the book. Mutants in Transia are being hunted down by this particular group with these kind of really strange guns. X-Force is coming in looking for Kid Cable, and they find out that he's escaped and that he's also looking for guns, and that he's gone to Transia. So they also cut to the Transia president, who is arguing with the general, and the general is basically saying that we should round up with the mutants. And the president says, you realize that we invited all these mutants in, and if we get rid of them, the treaties that we had, everybody's going to leave us, and all those guns that you got and all those soldiers that you got will no longer be able to do the training for them or anything like that. So these mutants are the reason that you're able to do the military where you are. Cuts to Kid Cable finding out that his spy that was in Transia is Deathlock, who his hollow inducer went away, and so it revealed him, and so he's like, you're no longer a good spy. Well, with him being in pieces, Deathlock being in pieces, the psychopathic person that his body is, so not the Deathlock personality, but the psychopath that his body is taken over because he can't control it anymore. So he's sitting there and he's going crazy, and then so Kid Cable grabs all his pieces, and they start trying to escape. X-Force shows up, and they realize that they're going to need to save him. So they save Kid Cable and try to figure out why they're doing this. And he's like, why are you looking for more guns? We know you have a ton of guns. He goes, yes, but those guns are from the future. So they shouldn't be in these people's hands, but apparently they are. Also, the general kills the president and blames it on mutants. He goes, I don't know how the mutants escaped. I also don't know how the mutants killed you. And then he shoots the president. It's like, oh! And then he runs out in the hallway and he goes, did you see it? The mutants escaped after they killed the president. So once they find out that Kid Cable's trying to stop these guns from being in his time, they cut to the TV where they show that the general's talking about the mutants killed the president. So they're sitting there, and I think this is what the premise is going to be. Through this, the beginning of the book, when they're at the warehouse, they talk about how some of the other bad guys get the drop on them, and so they're like, why? Domino's like, why didn't you clean up after, or who's supposed to do recon? And they're like, well, Boom Boom was supposed to be here, but she didn't show up. So the backstory is what happened to Boom Boom, and Boom Boom is she sleeps in late, so then she's like calling everybody, trying to get everybody. She's like, don't leave, I'm on my way, don't leave. And then she calls an Uber, and she's getting the Uber driver. She's like, drive faster. He's like, I can't. And she's, I'm gonna give you 1 star if you don't drive faster. And so she gets to the warehouse where they had stopped all the guys. She finds the one guy that's awake, and she's like trying to interrogate him. Well, he tries to shoot her. She blows him up. Well, come to find out, she throws her time bomb in a warehouse full of explosives. So she blows up the entire building. So at the beginning, she finds this guy that's the one conscious guy. And he's like, call an ambulance. So she calls an ambulance. Well, after she blows up the warehouse, she calls them back, and she goes, we don't need an ambulance, but we may need about 2 or 3 fire trucks. So could you send that? So then she calls and leaves Domino another message. She's like, seriously, guys, where are you at? Come pick me up. So I think that's going to be probably a running joke, is where's Boom Boom the entire time, which I think is kind of funny. As far as the book goes, I thought it's kind of a neat starting point. I'm interested to see where it's going to go, so I'll probably pick up the next few issues to see where it's going to go. I really like the cast of characters. I hope they get Boom Boom into the cast because she's the most hysterical one. I think she's the funniest.
Yeah, I watched a show that had Boom Boom in it, and that piece reminded me of her because she's always very like not organized.
No,
and
she's
not
like a valley girl, and
she's like valley. She's not organized.
No,
at all.
And she kind of cusses a lot. She's She's just a horrible superhero, but she's pretty funny. So I hope they bring her into the fold eventually, and kind of.
She didn't explode because her body's normal, used to it.
Well, she makes the time bombs. Like she doesn't blow up. She throws her body makes these time bombs, and she throws them and they blow up.
I know, but it killed everyone else.
But she ran out. She didn't. She escaped.
Oh.
She wasn't in the explosion.
Oh, I would have also thought it would. Been able to
I don't
affect
think
her.
I think it would still hurt her.
I didn't think it would since it came from her.
Nope, it would still hurt her. So that was actually the only thing that I didn't like. The art, not that I didn't like the original art, the first artist, but it just doesn't fit the book quite well. The first artist is more of a cartoony look, and I think it would be more interesting if it was closer to maybe a more realistic or a, I don't know. It's really hard to see Pepe Larraz's cover and then look at this art. Again, it's not bad. I just don't think it fits the book very well. It's very, like I said, like...
I like the art for Boom Boom.
Yeah, the Boom Boom Stories art was really good. I think they should do the bigger story. That's a Domino. So Proud Star is Warpath, and then Nina is Domino. That's her real name. And so overall, I would give this probably a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, but I'm a huge X fan, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to do. So I really hope that they continue on. Hopefully there will be a different artist at some point that may be a little bit better that fits the book, but if not, I'll probably still suffer through it. But I downloaded it so you can read it if you want. If you get a chance, you can take a look at it and see what you think. But like I said, 4 out of 5 unicorn horns because I'm a big X-Men fan, so
yes.
I enjoy it.
X-Men and Harley are my favorite.
X-Men and Harley?
Mm-hmm.
Did you read the Uncanny? I downloaded the Uncanny too.
No.
So the only one I really have on my pull list is
which
Uncanny.
book is this?
That's the number 7. Yeah.
Is
so it's them in the world of Apocalypse.
Is this before or after the one I read?
I think it's after.
Is it the next book after?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I need to find the other one to make sure.
Okay. Well, we can figure it out. But
it has all the people. But
yeah. So this one they're kind of in the Age of Apocalypse. The young X-Men, Pixie.
X-23.
Nope, X-23 is not in there. Just Pixie, Armor, Rockslide, and Glob.
Who's this?
Pixie.
How's that Pixie? I thought that was Pixie.
So this is the Age of Apocalypse. So they go into a different alternate world. So they become alternate versions of themselves. So they look different. Like Glob can turn on fire and light things on fire, and he can melt himself into people's body and like burn them from the inside. And so it's a little bit different, but it does kind of skip far.
The place it picks up is not where it left off last time.
This is supposed to be like a couple months after, and it says it in there. So when they transferred to the Age of Apocalypse, they got X-Man came with them, but it's a good continuation. I'm still liking the storyline. It's not my favorite. It's probably the least favorite out of the all the books that have been out yet of the Uncanny. So I hope that they kind of switch back to what they were doing before, because I really liked the Legion and X-Men kind of play off of, see what they were going to do with that. But it's okay. It's a continuation. I mean, I'd still give it a 4 out of 5 unicorn horn just because I'm really enjoying the story. The art's okay. Don't rip it, baby. So I think it's okay. But that was the only thing on my pill list. Otherwise, I downloaded a couple things. I downloaded Teen Titans, which I thought was really good. Teen Titans number 25. I haven't been reading Teen Titans. I kind of gave up on it for a while just because I wasn't really excited about the story. The story was horrible. But this one was kind of fun. It talks about Crash, the Lobo's daughter, and Crush.
It says Crush.
Yeah. And so it talks about kind of her origins a little bit. But I really liked it. I think you would actually like this one. You may want to read that one if you get a chance. You'll have to read it and find out. And
Submerged?
then
You got a new one.
Yeah, that one wasn't very good. So I read Submerged by Vault. Number 4 just came out recently, I think last week. But I caught up on it, and it wasn't that good.
When I saw the die, it reminded me of the commercial. Ba 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 ba. Da 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 da.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. Rhymes.
So anyway, that was our books for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. There were actually some pretty good ones, huh? I really enjoyed them. All right. Well, if you get a chance, like, share, subscribe. We'd love to have more than 17 viewers because Kelly is dying to be super famous. So if we ever get a chance, we need to get more people if we can. If you agree with our opinions or you don't agree, leave us a comment and let us know why. Let us know if there's something else that we should be reading that maybe we can pick up at some time and try to catch up on. But until then, we hope your pull list is full. Bye!